My wife said, "I'm moving in with Anthony." My calm reply made her realize she just lost everything. The words didn't come with tears. They didn't come with guilt. They came with a calmness that chilled me more than if she had screamed. "I'm moving in with Anthony," my wife said as she pushed her dinner plate away. Then after a long pause, she delivered the final blow. "And I'm pregnant. It's his." The room fell silent. The only sound was the ticking clock hanging on the kitchen wall, the same clock we'd bought during our honeymoon. For a few seconds, I honestly thought I had misheard her. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because my mind refused to accept what my ears had just heard. She didn't laugh back. Her face stayed expressionless, almost relieved, as if she'd been rehearsing those words for weeks. I felt my chest tighten, but I refused to let her see it. Instead of shouting, I asked quietly, "How long?" She hesitated. "About 8 months." 8 months, nearly a year of lies, 8 months of fake smiles, fake kisses, fake "I love yous." Suddenly, every late meeting at work, every weekend girls' trip, every time she smiled at a text message made perfect sense. Anthony, her co-worker, the man she always insisted was just a friend. She expected me to explode. Instead, I simply nodded. She frowned. "That's it?" she asked. "You're not even going to fight for us?" I looked at her for several seconds before answering. "No." Confusion spread across her face. "You already made your decision." She crossed her arms, almost irritated that I wasn't giving her the emotional breakdown she'd imagined. Then she smiled. "I think you'll realize one day that Anthony gives me something you never could." That was when I leaned back in my chair. "Maybe," I said calmly. "But while you were busy building a future with Anthony, I was preparing for mine." Her smile disappeared. "What do you mean?" I opened the drawer beside me and placed a thick envelope on the table. She stared at it. Inside were printed photographs. Photos of her entering Anthony's apartment. Photos of them holding hands. Hotel receipts. Phone records. Even copies of bank transfers she'd secretly made from our joint account. The colour drained from her face. You followed me?" "I didn't have to follow you for long," I replied. "Once was enough." She looked terrified now. "I hired a lawyer 3 months ago." Her breathing became uneven. "I also hired a forensic accountant." She blinked rapidly. "What?" "The money you thought I never noticed. Every transfer, every hidden expense. It's all documented." For the first time that night, she looked genuinely scared. "This isn't what I wanted." I almost laughed. "No? I wanted us to separate peacefully." "Peacefully?" I repeated. "You cheated on me for 8 months. You got pregnant by another man while sleeping beside your husband." Tears filled her eyes. "I never meant to hurt you." "You just didn't care if you did." She reached across the table. "I made a mistake." I stood before she could touch my hand. "No. You made hundreds of choices." Silence swallowed the room. Finally, she whispered, "Anthony said we'd have a better life." I looked at her with more pity than anger. I hope he's telling the truth. She left that night carrying 2 suitcases. She never looked back. Neither did I. The divorce moved quickly. Because of the evidence, the hidden financial transactions, and the affair, the settlement didn't unfold the way she'd expected. She discovered that fantasy doesn't pay mortgages, love doesn't erase debt, and excitement fades when real life arrives. Months later, I heard from mutual friends that Anthony had lost his job shortly after the baby was born. Their apartment was filled with arguments instead of romance. The passionate affair that had destroyed a marriage couldn't survive ordinary responsibilities. One afternoon, nearly a year later, she called me. I let it ring. Then another message arrived. "I miss what we had." I stared at the screen for several seconds before deleting it. Not out of revenge, out of peace. The hardest part wasn't losing my wife. It was accepting that the woman I loved had disappeared long before she confessed. That night at the dinner table, she believed she was destroying my life. She had no idea she was simply closing a chapter that had already ended. My calm reply wasn't strength because it hurt less. It was strength because I'd finally stopped begging someone to value what they had already chosen to throw away. In the end, I didn't lose everything. She did.